Hello, legends and super legends. Welcome to Veloharmony. Today we have the debut of our new Rafa custom team kit. You guys get to see it in action. Those of you who saw the video that I made when I basically introduced it to the channel, you already have the details. If you don't, just look in the channel archives, you will find them in there. But we get to debut our kit. This is the Rafa Classic Flyweight jersey in our team colors. We'll be getting more iterations of them down the road in the mid-weight and the aero. And then we'll also design a short that will have this color at the bottom in the chevron, which is really neat. But it's time for me to roll. We're going to be clipping in at 6:15. It's about 6:08. It's gonna be another hot day here in southeastern Texas. So I've got 2 bottles on the bike, one with water, one with electrolyte, and we're rolling out. I'm basically just wearing my basic protein gloves, black, to go with this. But we've got other iterations that we will use with them as we wear them more and more. I got myself 2 copies of this because I plan on using it a lot. It's a good advertisement for the services that we provide as well. You can see the back. But it's time to roll, and make sure you get K's.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton about 6:15, headed out into the woodland. We saw Robert Tangler on Flint Ridge Drive when we're heading to Ashland YMCA. We looped around because we got there a little early. We picked up the group. After picking up the group, we headed out on 1488. Mo was there. The pace was hot. A guy named Abby had a flat, but unlike the other group, it was fixed real quickly. We rode them into Magnolia, and then we let them go at that point. That was our original plan, because we planned to do more than 160 something kilometers. They poured it on. It was very intense. I think you will enjoy the clips. And then what we did is we went to Dacus. We stopped there, went through the forest, Bethel there, went north. We hit 149, came 149 south. And once we got back into Montgomery, we stopped at Taco Corner to refill our bottles. It was a very hot day. And then we came down 2854 into Keenan, cut through the neighborhood, Grand Lake Estates to Honia Egypt Road, and took that back into town. We used Sterling Ridge and came back to Northampton. All in all, we got in excess of 100 miles on a day. I hope you all got a chance to get some caves in. Go ahead, I think you will enjoy the clips. As Katie says, it's 7. Yeah, Mo had asked what we wanted to do, how far.
1488 all the way down, then 1486 all the way up to that. Okay.
I've done that. I did that probably about, I guess 3 weeks ago or a month ago. There's one section right when you turn on 1486.
Yeah.
It's just about a mile, but
It's not too bad. If we do that jig, we don't stay on 1774 because the traffic's kind of fast now.
I like it. I mean, once you get to 1486, it's awesome.
So we do that, and then once we get Dacus,
It's 1774. That's what it is. 1774
Road.
a mile.
and then once we get, I don't never remember it. We take a left to go through the Bethel forest. That's long.
I'll bet.
We all want to do
Is that the gorilla route?
No, I like what you're saying. I like more.
That's going to be really long. So at that point, so in this case, we need to decide where we want to stop.
Did you say going to Richards?
No, we will turn right before, because otherwise that
That'll be really long.
Dacus?
you can stop in Dacus. That though, that has to be quick. Just get the water and go, and then we stop at Taco Corner.
To stop or right? It's
I think we need
Dacus.
to.
Okay, I'll do.
In Dacus we need to do it quick.
Only go.
Water, get the water.
Only
You
go.
need the bathroom, go, but don't
Only go
stop.
water bottle.
Otherwise,
Stops with
we still
this
have a
group
long
are
way to
very
go.
quick. They don't mess around.
Yeah. Well, time of corner, then we'll stop. You can lay down.
Most being funny.
Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Yeah.
1486. We're still going all the way up
They
there.
do. That's right. They have burritos.
That's Abby over there with the arrow helmet.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how he tolerates that. It's kind of hot. That thing has one little hole.
Now we're talking. Oh my. I'm gonna just lay down and die.
That's Doug, that's Al over there. That's Abby with the white helmet there. That looks uncomfortable because it's hot. But he deals with it. So we're heading out on Ashland Way. We'll leave the Y. We're heading north. I'm already up the road with Mo. Mo's wearing a nice kit. I complimented him on it. I like the colors and the fit was great. It's he says Bici Scaletti. It's a team that is in Italy. He went there and did a race. They gave him a kit. A lot of Mo's jerseys have history, so I like to ask about it because there's a story behind each one, which I think is really cool. The name of this road changes. I've mentioned it on an earlier video from Atlanta. As you go across, this is Woodlands Parkway for those of you in the area. And it becomes Stonyhurst. It might be a mile and a half long, if that. So our plan this week was to ride with these guys up until Taco Corner, but they're not heading directly to Taco Corner. They're going to Magnolia. So right around when we passed Magnolia, I went ahead and let them go. Paul had fallen off the pace. So we backed off because we planned on doing about 6 hours today. But they poured it on. I mean, it just... out of the gate, they were ready to go. More rides here, you know, I ride there. We all get there warmed up for the most part. So these guys are ready to go. I rode with them on Sunday as well, and in the neighborhood I had to let them go. We were doing like a rotating pace line, and it kept accelerating with each rider. We just kept shedding riders. It was not smooth at all, so I just backed off when we got near Honia, and Jesus and I rode in together. Sterling Ridge Drive here. This is the one that will take us to Branch Crossing. We ride through here during the week. I ride through here often because it's within 40 minutes from where I live, and I can do an hour and a half loop and hit these roads, and they're always quiet. Moore and I are talking. I asked him about his jersey. He tells me about the history of the team. It's a guy in Italy that runs an automobile shop, but also sells bikes, I guess, on the side, and he sponsors cycling teams. His name is Scaletti, and I thought that's cool. few kilometers, you will see the pace picks up dramatically,
No, I have to.
and everybody will go single file. Nobody has to say anything.
Not on, but it looks just pretty cool. Clear.
That's Will with the Trek Domani, I think, is what he has. That's Al on the left and Doug Shot on the right. Mo and I still talking. I love sitting next to Mo when the pace is sedate like this and kind of catch on some of the stories. Yeah, he reaches over and he feels our kid, because we're talking about the fact that nowadays we have better fabrics than when we used to race. Because back in the day, you know, you didn't have as many choices. The lightweight stuff that we have now is such a relief compared to what was available back then in the 90s. So the plan here is to do a long ride today. They're doing a long ride. We end up riding with them for about an hour, and then we back off the pace. That's Jerry back there. That's Abby on the left with the white helmet. The Puck Aero helmet. I give him credit wearing that in this weather. That's Katie back there. That's Will on the left here with the Trek. Rode with these guys on Sunday. Al was there, Will was there. Mo didn't ride with the group on Sunday. We rode just to Taco Corner and back. I really needed to have ridden easier on Sunday when I rode. But once you get with a group, you can't control that too much unless you end up backing off and riding alone. You see how that even though we're riding two abreast, we're using about half the lane. That's the proper way to do it. I mean, the bike barn, they take up the whole lane, but I think this is better because you have so much more room between the riders and that yellow line. And this way, you really benefit by being close to the next line aerodynamically as well, instead of having somebody 4 feet away. On Sunday, we did a rotating pace line, and Al was instructing people about how to come over. People were pulling over like 4 feet away from the other rider, and he was saying you don't need to go that far because there's so much more ground to cover. You want to stay close like this because then it's easier. Even in this format, if you're doing a rotating pace line, by being a foot or two apart, it keeps everything nice and tight. There's a lot of little skill work in cycling. It's not just getting on the bike and blasting off. You're going to ride well. We go through Alden Bend Drive here. We're on Branch Crossing. Jared and Kevin stop. On Sunday, I was riding to go pick up this group at that same intersection, riding from my house, because the ride starts near 1488. I get to the stop sign, I stop. There's a car already there, a truck. And he starts to wave me through. I'm like, I've already stopped. Just go. You know? it's nice that they do that, but it's like once I've already stopped and on-clicked, just go ahead and go. It was just the two of us. You know, it's like 6:50 in the morning.
Hey, Jerry, how are you, man?
That's Jerry Ludman there. It just throws off the traffic, the cycle of traffic flow when they don't do what's expected. That's the bit. It's nice that they sometimes let us go, but sometimes we just need to go. So I just waved him on. Go ahead and go. I've already stopped. Appreciate the gesture.
Yeah. I don't like that either. I start from home because I like to get to my house.
Yeah, what Paul is talking about there with Jerry is that the Team RR guys decided, just three of them decided to drive to the Magnolia High School area on 105. Probably about 45-minute drive from where they are, an hour for us in the car to start a ride. But they gave late notice on Friday afternoon. Then they tell the group, oh, well, by the way, the three of us, Mark, blah, 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 decided to go over there. Well, that's a way to kill a group. If you grow in your group and you're going to change the venue to start, give people plenty of notice so they can plan. As a result, they didn't have much of a turnout because the other people that got the notice late made it clear they were not going to participate in that ride. They're like, we're riding from Cross Pizza. And you could tell by the responses that they didn't appreciate that. But they do that all the time. They're unaware that you can kill a group like that. You know, these guys, they have a standing start time and a standing location. Now, some groups in the Woodlands, another part of the Woodland Cycling Club, the social riders, they have different start locations, but it's like, let's say the third week of every month we'll start in Willis, a different location. So everybody knows well in advance. That's the key. Those guys don't do that. They act like it's their private little ride. You can't do that. You're taking people for granted, and you would just continue to lose riders. That's what they were talking about. Like, who wants to drive an hour when I can ride an hour and get my kilometers in? I want to be sitting in a car. So right here, in a little bit, you will see we're getting on the road. More starts to edge up the speed, and you will see Doug will get on the road too. And you notice we just went single file. Nobody had to say anything. It just started getting faster. You see Jerry's close by. Doug Shot's gonna get in front of Jerry then. And he let Jerry know that he was gonna do that. And these guys were ready to go. In fact, Abby, who's wearing the aero helmet, ends up having a flat in about probably 7 kilometers or so. But it was such a quick change. I was impressed. And he came by, he said, thanks for waiting, guys, something like that. He said, thanks, guys. He meant thanks for waiting. And I told him, thanks for having a flat, because these guys were hammering. We got a chance to catch our breath. Because sometimes the first time you go hard, it's like a shock to the system, and then once you recover, you can go again, and it feels better. So we all laughed about it. And then even Doug said, while we're waiting for Abby to fix the flat, Doug said, it didn't take long for them to get going, did it? And I told him, I said, well, everybody rides there pretty much. They had a good turnout today. It's been really weird the last couple of weeks. The amount of cyclists showing up for these rides have reduced. We're not sure what's going on. There's no race or anything going on. Because a lot of times it's a race that they're doing, then you have fewer numbers. We end up stopping for this light. We're going straight here. This is Old Egypt Lane, but we're not going to use it. We're going to go straight to 2978. We're going 1488 west to Magnolia, Texas. I stay near the front because when the light changes, mode's ready to go. You will see in about a kilometer, we stop at the next light, and the light changes, and he just takes off. He's ready to ride. Mo says riding time is precious. So don't waste a whole lot of time. If they're stopped, it's for a good reason. We get to the stops, everybody uses the restroom, fill up the bottles. Within a few minutes, they're standing, clipping in on their bike, looking around, making sure people know that we're getting ready to go. Because we can talk while we ride. We don't need to sit around. Some of the other teams, the other riders will take off their helmets, sit at the table. These guys don't do that. They ride, get back. A few hours later, by 11 or so, they're done. Go on, they do other things. Watch Mo. He's doing a track stand. I'm looking at him. And then at the next intersection, you will see Al do another one. I think Paul films him. I was not aware of it, but Paul mentioned it when we were coming back and we're riding together. Mo's gone. I'm probably about 200, maybe 200 yards behind him. See how the little black line on Al's white socks stand out? It's the stuff I talk about, the contrast. The human eye picks up on stuff like that. That's what the drivers see. Just that little line that breaks up that white, that contrast, makes you more visible. That's why the signs are green and then the letters are white. That is so visible. I think they even use that in Canada, same color scheme, and other places in the world. I'm sure they did a lot of research before they settled on that, because it is very visible. Traffic signs, and street signs with the green. Look at Al. That takes a lot of energy. We used to do that at the track when you're trying to get someone else to lead the sprint. He's not gonna fall. All you gotta do is on clip. But he's balancing. He's using a little motion forward and back. That's what keeps you upright. Keeps your balance. That does use a lot of energy. And the light changes, and we got green up. Now watch as we go around the corner. Mo's gone. If you snooze, you lose with these guys. You got to be alert. So he's looking back to make sure everybody kind of gets together. But it's time. We're out of the main city. This is the main highway into Magnolia on this side of town, 1488. I'm not sure why Al is sliding back, but he's going behind. So right here, Paul has to close this gap. You can see his shadow. The entire part of this ride, I stayed really close to everybody. I did not want to expend too much energy because we'd already planned to ride with them for the first hour, let them go, and then do our own thing. And when we break away from them, we don't slow down that much, you know. On this ride, we kind of slowed down to let Paul recover, and after that, we started our usual riding. So we did the same route pretty much, all the challenges and the hills. You can see from the shadow on the road how tight the line is. If you're not staying close, you're going to be expending a lot of energy. You hear the wind. It was very comfortable early in the morning. In about 3 hours or so, it warmed up quickly. It felt like desert air. Very dry, so it heated up quickly. But in the morning it was nice. It was like 71 degrees Fahrenheit, about 21, almost 22 Celsius. Yeah, it says 22 on the screen. It was a cool 22. It didn't feel very muggy. The plans that I loaded on the website, I followed them as well. I'm wrapping up the pre-season. I've already loaded the plans out there, but I'm following the pre-season plan. And maybe in a few weeks, I will get to the in-season, probably around July or so. But depending on what you're preparing for, that thing can work for you any time of the year. I'm checking for cars because there's an obstacle up there. Once it's clear, I let these guys know they need to come over. There's something, yeah, okay, there's a rider on the right. I don't like to pass other cyclists that are not riding with us very close. Most Doug pulling, he's pulling off the front. He had not planned to do much pulling when he got in the parking lot off camera. That's the first thing he said. I'm not going to pull for a centimeter. You know, he was kidding, of course. I'm looking around Will. I'm following Will here, and I'm looking around him to make sure I see the debris. To not only give warning, but to keep my line smooth and make adjustments early. There's more drifting back. So Moore pretty much set the pace, and then Will is another guy that pulls really hard too. So Al made the joke on Sunday because Will was riding with us Sunday as well, and he rode off the front. And the guy who was on the front while we were going to Taco Corner on Sunday pulled off at that moment, you know, and looked at me because I was behind him. I just kept the pace the same, and that's what Al said. Nothing says you have to pull through hard. Because he didn't want to chase Will. And he looked at me like, I'm going to chase. No, you gotta know, because I knew we had to come back. So Will pulls off here. I continue the same effort. And at that moment, I saw a garbage can about maybe a quarter mile or half mile up the road. I decided to use the garbage can as my gauge to pull off when I got to the garbage can. And you know, like Doug was telling me behind him when we stopped for the flat change, for Abby's flat change, Doug said he decided he was going to pull for like a minute or two. So there's the garbage can. I pulled off. I'm done pulling. I've already drifted back out of camera. And Doug takes over. Paul really needs to get closer there. You'll see him inch up because you end up fighting that wind. I think when he turned the camera around, he lost a little bit of ground, but he's too far off that wheel, working too hard. He's closer. So if you don't get close enough, you end up expending a lot of energy while you're following. And then you just tire yourself out quicker. That's what Doug was saying, that he gave himself a minute or so for his pull, and then he would pull off. So you have to decide how long you want to stay up there depending on the pace. Now he's done. So he pulled off to the right. And Paul just rolls through and he pulls off to the right. He's already off the front. That's the next rider's shadow coming up. That's Abby. That's Jared Klusky there. That's Kevin. Jesus. Jerry. Katie. That's Katie in front of Jerry. And there's a gap here to Al. He's closing it. And then Mo. We're working here. And early in the ride, these boys, they were pouring it on. There were no conversations going on in the group at this point. Everybody was focused on riding. And this road has slight undulations. You may not see it register in this area, but we feel it. Everything on this side of town, there are spots where, yeah, you get the flats, but then it rolls, little mounds. At these speeds, you gotta really be on top of your shifting so you can save your legs. There's a lot of debris on the right. I think I end up using the road here, or you'll see me on the white line or something like that. I don't want to have a flat. Yeah, I'm riding that white line. All I do is I look at the white line. Where you look is where your bike goes. Now I'm using the lane. I look back and I'm using the road. There's a lot of debris on the right from rains, and this boy, he's pulling off too, so he needed the room. That's Abby. He's the one that ends up having a flat in a little bit. These are the guys that Team RR call the crazy fast guys. That's how they refer to Mo's group. I kind of agree with them. It doesn't take them long to get going. Jared's pulling and he's pulled off. Now he's too far over. He didn't need to be way over there. That's too far over. See the space? That's just too far. He didn't need to be that far over. Plus there's a lot of debris over there. Look at the line. Look at the shadow. That's sweet. Look at the shadow on the road. The line's tight. You don't have to say anything, because if you're not close, you won't last. Because in a few kilometers, this road's going to start going up. This is sustainable pace. Nobody's sprinting. There's nobody feigning or riding off the front. This is just a pace these boys hold. I'm in zone 4 at this moment, right? 165, that's zone 4. Our hurry finally has caught up because the effort has continued long enough. So when you're sitting in the bunch and you're in the back in zone 4, you know you're in for a long day. So you have to make sure that in your training, you replicate those zones, meaning until you get comfortable with it. I'm zipping my jersey one-handed. I really like that the zippers on these jerseys are easily used with one hand. I think that should be a requirement for every cycling jersey. But once I start getting hot, to zip it down. That jersey is so lightweight. And when I get to the front, I zip it up. I'll zip it up more. I don't zip it all the way down, like 3/4 of the way, but once I get to the front, I zip it up. That was Kevin that pulled off the front. So you can see the whole stretch, 38 to 40 kilometers an hour. And this road right now is going up a little bit. I don't know if it'll register. I think it's debris. See how I'm right next to the white line. That's the cleanest part on most shoulders. You notice my cadence is up. That's taxing my aerobic system. And a little while ago I mentioned my heart rate was 165. I don't see it when I'm riding. But look guys, 158, so it's going down. This is why you have to train, because if you're not fit, your heart rate goes up and you don't recover. It just stays up there and it's hard for you to keep up. Now it's going back up. It's at 162, 163. I think the road went up a little bit. I'm less than a foot behind the wheel I'm following. That's Jesus pulling off the front. So the entire time that I'm riding in the pace line here, all I focus on is making sure my gearing is optimal to where I'm not spinning anything out and I'm not lugging anything, because the speeds are up and you want to be ready. If you notice, like when you're riding and the road is going to go up, don't wait till you get on the climb. A little before the climb begins, downshift a bit. Probably in a 53-17, something like that. That's an 84-inch gear. The 17, the 16, and the 19. Those are the three gears that I'm probably playing in this section. And you don't even need to look at it. It's just you just shift to what feels right. See how tight our shadows are. We're just moving along. Now Paulie Longa is drafting close. That's the way he's supposed to be. You shouldn't even see the ground. And you'll see that later in the ride when we're solo. When I point out to him where the draft is, he comes up real close. You can't even see most of my wheel, because we're basically doing a little echelon, and we're cooking it at that point later in this video. Katie pulls off the front, because Katie was driving the pace. There's a flat. Paul calls it, Katie calls it. I called out to the guys out front because I didn't hear it, and I started to soft pedal right there. And Mo looks behind, and in a little while you'll see Mo turn around and ride to Abby. Abby's down there behind Katie. Mo's gonna ride back to him. To pause it and pouring it on.
Katie got up there.
Katie got up there and really gave it the stick. So Jerry's gonna go for a little spin on that. There's a little street up there with a green sign in, and I think we turn off the camera here, but the flat didn't take long. You can see it's 8:05, it's 8:10, 5 minutes.
Thanks for the flat.
He said, yeah, that's Abby going. He said, I said, thanks for the flat. We needed a break. So 5 minutes, the guy's ready to go. those other guys that took 30 minutes to fix 2 flats. That's like 15 minutes a flat. That's 3 times as long.
Jerry, because Jerry puts down the horsepower to get up there.
So I'm telling Jerry that I'm not sitting behind him, because you sit behind Jerry, then he will go full gas to close the gap. So I decided to ride up myself while the pace is just starting again, and ride up to these guys. It doesn't take much. With these guys, they don't waste time. We're standing there, they're ready to go. Before we clip in, look at the gap we have. And they know they're not going full gas right now, so we ride up. I ride up real quickly. You can see I'm doing 40 kilometers an hour thereabouts. So ride up to them. I have the camera now. I took the camera from Paul when we stopped for that flat repair. So I'm sitting behind Katie with the camera. I put the camera in my left hand. I stay a little to the left so we can make sure we get a wide shot as opposed to the straight line. Just kind of easing back up the speed, not really ramping it up yet. That's Al talking to me. What Al is telling me is he's giving me suggestions on where to try to source. I need some spokes for my Urus wheel, and for some reason they want $30 for one spoke, and I just thought that was pretty ridiculous. I don't want to buy an entire kit and invest hundreds of dollars in spokes. I don't break spokes that often, but it just seemed ridiculous to pay $30 for a single spoke, and it does not even come with a nipple. So I'm like, what's going on? So he told me, you might want to look at the like Ribble and Wiggle and some of the other UK sites. This is the little overpass that they call Mount Magnolia. It's a nice little ramp. That's Kevin pulling off the front. So right here, as we begin to climb, whatever gear I'm in, when we start to hit the gradient for real, I end up having to shift to a harder gear versus spinning because I needed to use force. If you look at my cadence, it's in the 80s. Because sometimes if you spin too much on a long climb, you can go anaerobic. So my cadence stays in the 80s. I'm using a gear to where I can feel the gear. And look, it's dropped to 75, whatever, but I'm using strength here to get over this climb because the speed is up, and I don't want to spin a small gear because as we crest this, it doesn't level off right away. It's still like a slight grade. Now it's going to start leveling off, but then heading towards Magnolia, we're going to have more ups and downs, so you don't want to spend all your energy here and tax your aerobic system too much. So I back off by using my muscular system, tax my legs a little bit, and then when we go down this hill, I continue to shift up. You can see I go to the right, I'm coasting, because I'm passing them without even pedaling, and I don't want to lose this momentum. It's like free speed. And then once they catch back up, I get back behind Katie. So all I did was go to the right to not brake. Braking is inefficient because you lose all that speed and you gotta spend energy to get it back up. So I don't bother. Take the free speed. soft pedaling here for the most part. There's a traffic control thing here. Once we get past it, then we drift over. I'm not sure who's at the front. I think it might be Mo. We're off that hill and the speed's stay up. The downhill is over. I think it's more that's pulling. So even with the shoulder being this wide, you still want to stay within a foot of the white line. So you're visible to the other road users, so they know you're using the road. And plus it's cleaner. We're about 5 miles, that's a 6 mile, maybe 10 kilometers from Magnolia. Right outside of downtown Magnolia. I always end up behind Katie. Last week, I think it was Sunday, she was pulling so hard I was getting no draft because she has a very aerodynamic position and she's smaller than I am. So it's hard. I was low, but still I was getting just a little bit of draft. So I had to pull out a line and find a bigger rider. I think, yeah, Mo pulled off. That was Mo that was driving the pace. He just pulled off. Mo doesn't spend a lot of time at the front unless he's training for, this is what I've heard, unless he's training for some event. Then he will sit at the front and really pull hard. Most of the riding he does with us is really recreational for the most part. That's what I believe. Now he goes back to the front. I wonder if this is where he told them to stay right. Because the wind's coming from the north a little bit. So he's trying to tell them to stay right so that we can draft on the left. So he goes back to lead by example. You see that? But then they get back in a line behind him. Yeah, you see, I'm over to the left, but the wind's coming from that side. That's why it's so nice this morning. There's a bit of a northerly flow. It's gonna change in a few hours because when we're coming back, the south wind's in our face. So he was trying to show them. He said, right, and then he went and showed, but they didn't get it. Now I see Abby here. I didn't understand what he was doing, but maybe he was just changing position. Abby's drifting from where he was, and he's gonna go back in the pace line. And that's okay. If you're at the front and you don't feel like you're getting a good draft, maybe you can get a better draft somewhere else. You gotta move around a little bit. But you gotta keep the power on in this group because they're moving. You see where I am? You can't even see the road. I am on Katie's hip because that's where the draft is. And then we got those barrels coming up. So I start to look behind because a part of those barrels is sitting on the road where that car is. It angles to the left. So I'm looking behind. I end up getting on the road. I put my arm out. I don't know if my shadow will show. I stick the camera out. There's a truck behind him, right there. I let him know we're coming over. And I tell him they can use the road. So when you're behind, you gotta help out the people at the front. I mean, it helps. They're going hard, but I'm not at my wit's end or anything because I've done the work. And so I can pay attention to those kind of things. But if you're just hanging on for dear life, you don't have to do that. You focus on what you need to focus on. So Mo pulls off again. And I I was right on Katie's hip because the wind's coming from the right, from the north, and in our face. So I just stay on the side. And this road is going up. I don't know if it will register from here until we get to downtown Magnolia. It goes up. And this is what Paul Ilunga was saying, that he didn't get an opportunity to recover. His heart rate kept going up. Paul's been off his program for a little over a month. I mean, you know, he's still riding, but not his full program. So he's trying to get back into things. I thought he rode great. Even Jerry Lucan was telling me Sunday today when we rode, I rode with them again. And he said that Paul rode really well. And I told him, you hear me tell him, because this ride, the ride just started out hard. So I just sit on the little to the left of Katie, right on the white line. You see my shadow. The road's going up. Might be 0.7 or something, and it's long. This whole thing is like a false flat. Now it registers at 1. There might be 1 point something, but it's a drag into town. And you can see our speeds drop a little bit. And I'm searching for a gear. So once we get over this mound, as we go over this light, I shift up. Because I don't want my heart rate to keep rising dramatically. I just shift up so you keep your breathing under control. Because I'm at the top of zone 4 here, creeping into zone 5. But once the road goes up, it doesn't matter if you're in the draft, everybody's working. And at this point, I looked behind a little bit and I saw Mo and Jerry nursing Paul, letting him know, hey, you know, you can recover. We're going to make a right turn. Give yourself a chance, you know. So we're kind of keeping our eye on him. And that's why I decided, I said, when we get to 1486, I would just pull out the line and drift back to him and we can do our own ride. I don't know who's pulling right now. It might be Jared. Oh, it's Susie. Let's see. Yes, it's Susie. Pulled off. And then Jared takes over. Jared is Katie's husband. So this entire stretch you've been watching, we're riding hard. Notice my heart rate keeps going down. And what Paul was telling me was he didn't get a chance to recover here. But this is where you can recover and then continue to work. So we've got some workouts for him to do that will help with his anaerobic fitness, because that's his strength going up that corner. This is 1774. Farm to Market, where we turn right. We don't stay on this road very long, maybe a mile, about 1.6 kilometers. We're heading north here. It says northwest. And then we'll go east on 1486. Jared pulls off. And he pulls off in the direction of the wind. I believe Will takes over. turn directly into the wind here. Will's looking for traffic. He wants to use more of the road because there is a concrete block on the right, on the white line here. Because of the construction, you see that overpass being built, and further up they've widened this road. So it's under construction currently. They have traffic using just this side in both directions. The other side they're working on heavily. I sit over on the left of Katie because really we want to make sure we discourage any cars from attempting to pass us in this lane. There isn't enough room. It so happened there was light traffic behind us. Not much. We got to that corner with no issues, but that's how you must ride. If the lane is narrow, you take it. So they have to go across the yellow line to pass you. Doug Shot is pulling now, and he pulls us until we get to 46. That traffic light up ahead is 1486. It's about 1.5 kilometers from that other corner off of 1488. This is where we decided to let them go. So as we turn here, I go ahead and get out of the pace line. They're using the road. I go ahead and get on this little piece of the shoulder here, and I wave Al through right there. And then I let Jerry know that I'm going to wait for Paul, and we're going to do our own thing so they don't wait. That's why I told them, I'm waiting for my buddy, just go ahead and go. So they don't have to wait. Guy on a motorcycle going by. I think I flipped the camera back. I don't think I got a good shot of Paul, and then he comes in the frame. So I told him next time we'll just go further and further with them until his anaerobic fitness gets to the level where we'll finish the whole thing. He said he could not recover. Did great.
Did good. Little by little. Next time we'll go further and further. That's the way you do it. Well, I wasn't going to ride like that for 4 hours. Those guys are nuts. It's good. You did good, buddy. Let's see, it's 8:30. We're on them for at least an hour. Yep, we're live. Man, you feel that wind? The wind has picked up.
We're in Montgomery, heading south, 4 hours into the ride. For us, probably more like 5 hours, because we rode an extra hour.
Get this hill on film. The boys always ride this hill like somebody's chasing them.
Whenever we come through here and we go through this light, that hill, we ride it at just such a brutal speed, so we never really get to enjoy it. So it's not a very popular hill. It's long, it's a little unwieldy, I call it, because it's up and down. The grade changes all the time. And we're going into the wind. The wind has switched to the southeast. So it's coming in our face and from the left. I decided to stand. It just felt good to stand. I'm on the small chain ring. I don't know what gear I'm in. I might be in the 17 or 16. I decided to stand to get a rhythm going, because one thing about this hill. You see it, you see that car going, it's still, we're climbing for a long time. So you go up, and then what happens is, there is a second one, it levels off, then it kicks up again. If you spend everything here, you will crawl before you get to the flat part of 2854 South. So you have to pace yourself. So I'm probably 2 out of 5 effort level wise. Because I know that once we get past these hills, we've got a lot of kilometers to cover. And you've got to save something, because when we ride with the bunch, after these climbs, they don't let up. You're doing speeds in excess of 27 miles an hour, and you will see that today. Because we'll go ahead and replicate the same thing. So even though we're doing 100 miles, we don't do 100 miles slowly. That's why we come out here. We climb and we ride. We do different workouts within the 100 miles. We don't just do a steady ride. So we do threshold, red line, over and under, or under and over. We do it all. We take all the workouts from in the middle of the week and put it together in this ride. You see, if you look in the distance, you see where that car is. It goes up again over there. And right here, it says 0, but it's not flat. As somebody on the channel says, ninja grade, call them false flats. At this point in the day, it's hot. See, it says 35 Celsius. About 95 degrees Fahrenheit. We have fresh water in our bottles with ice and everything. We just stopped at Taco Corner. So all I'm doing here is keeping the tempo even. I'm in zone 2, keeping the effort 2 out of 5. And this road starts to go up, I stand again. One thing about standing, you use more energy when you're standing versus sitting, but you employ the muscles in your upper body. And I use a larger gear. I keep my cadence below 80, sometimes 60 to 75, whatever, and use more strength versus aerobic capacity. So if you're standing and you're gasping for air or whatever, you need to sit down, because you need to be able to stand comfortably so that when you sit, you can continue the effort. Now I'm over the climb. It's still a bit of a bump where that car is. I'm gonna ease the speed up. I go ahead and start rolling my cadence up. Get my legs nice and loose. Want to make sure the effort is consistent. Same zone 2, but the top of zone 2. So you can enter the zone and train through the zone, meaning you can do part of your workout in the lower part of the zone and middle part of the workout in the middle part of the zone, and then end the workout at the top part of the zone. That's a good way to train. All of this is in our plans. That's on the website. I don't know what Paul was doing here that I pulled away from him. I was not aware. He must have been doing something, because I didn't change the effort. I'm pulling there's a flap at the bottom of our jersey. It's a screen. When you pull that down, the air comes in the front and goes out the back. I want to make sure it was free and clear. to cool me off because we're going into the wind. And even though we're going into the wind, you can see it speeds up because I kept the effort the same. So the same way I was climbing that hill with the same effort, now on this flat road translates into more speed. That's why you can't train to speed. In a little bit, I'll go ahead and show Paul where the draft is, because I noticed he's hanging back, because I'm ready to ramp it up. So I show him where the draft is, he immediately slips in there. We ride together enough to where he kind of knew why I did that. The pace is picking up, he needs to be locked in. And I go ahead and get in the drops and spend a good amount of time in there, just keeping the speed up. We're going directly into the wind, and we have a crosswind from the left as well. That's why he's on my right. The camera's in his left hand. I don't shift much here. I believe I'm in the 5316 or something like that. I just keep the gear going. I'm focusing on the effort and not the speed. The speed will come. It's controlled by the and the terrain you're riding in. And right now I'm at the top of zone 2. Creeping into tempo. I want to keep the effort right there. I don't like to spend too much time in tempo. I like to go through tempo directly to zone 4 or sweet spot. Sweet spot is between tempo and zone 4. It's just more efficient. You get more bang for the buck there. So I'm not looking at heart rate as I ride. I'm keeping the effort the same. My heart rate will go up based on whether the wind picks up or the terrain changes, and then I adjust by how much force I'm putting into the pedals. That's how you have to learn. Basically, I'm riding my feel. So at this point, we're doing 37 kilometers an hour. We've ramped up the speeds from like 25, 26, or 22 or on the climb, but the effort is the same. So now in a little bit, because I kept the effort steady, we're gonna kick it up in the upper 40s as far as kilometers an hour. I'm talking, in excess of 27, 28 miles an hour. All because of pacing and all the training that we've done. So when we rode with Mo and them the first hour, they were really killing it. If we hadn't paced ourselves, we would have burned ourselves out to be able to do 6 hours. That's why I sat in most of the time. I did not do much pulling in that group. I took a short pull on 1488 and that was it. You see our speed's going up. Same terrain, I'm just ramping it up. I must be in the 16 or the 15 in the back. So even though it's windy, I don't worry about the wind. You have to be able to have strength in your legs to work your gears based on what the terrain gives you. The road is relatively flat. And now it says -0, but it's flat. So you should be able to turn. I mean, if you've ridden enough, you should be able to turn a 16 or 15. If you're doing a time trial, there's always going to be wind. And these are the kind of speeds you need to do with a time trial. It comes with years of training. It's not going to be overnight. Just saying. So 25 to 27 miles per hour should be something that's attainable on a flat TT course, or even more than that, depending on what your goals are. So you can come in under an hour. And the top people that are going for 49 minutes or 52 minutes, they're going faster than that. I'm building a time trial training plan. I will load it out on the website as well among the plans for those who want to do specific time trial training. I only build plans based on the requests I get. You know, a lot of the people buying stuff off the website are asking for certain things, and then I invest the time building. Right here, this road is going up, and you will see it's dropping, of course. Need I say more? Can't train the speed, but my F is the same. I mean, look at that, 149, 148. As far as heart rate, I don't even look at that. I just know I'm putting the same amount of power. So I've downshifted, I'm on a small chain ring, and I'm keeping the effort the same. Moore and I talked about this last week on a ride where he said that I was telling him that some guy was cross-chaining. I may have mentioned it before, but he said that a lot of riders don't use their small chain ring. He's like, why are you carrying it if you don't use it? You need to use it. That's why it's there. You have different ratios with the small ones. A few of them are duplicated, but not a lot. So you get extra ratios that you can't find on the big chain ring combination. We turn here on Audouin Road, and that hill up there is like 7%. It's short, you know. But if you've been working really hard, you feel it. I go ahead and just stand. It felt good to stand. So as I'm standing here, if somebody were to come and accelerate and I like this rhythm, I would just hold my rhythm. It's a short hill. I would hold my rhythm and then maybe try to close after. So especially depending on how you feel. Don't feel like you gotta chase everything. I hope you all got a chance to get out there and get some K's in this weekend. But this is what we did on Saturday. I want to thank all our super legends and our patrons for supporting the channel. We could not do this without you guys. Be safe out there and keep those doctors fired.